Okay. Well, here we are at 6 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday night education series here at AIARE. This is our first one of the season, and we're really excited to welcome CalTopo. Um, our guests are and hosts tonight are Megan Tuig. She does marketing and partnerships and training at CalTopo, and she's bringing along Mark Chauvin, the CalTopo tech support and training guru. Helps folks with all things that involve using the mapping program. And yeah, we welcome them tonight, and they've got a great program in store for us tonight. Uh, it's a tour planning roulette. So Mark is going to pick a tour plan based on your votes in the poll that we have linked below. So have a look at that poll. You'll see a few options there, and the poll that wins will be the tour planning that Mark will do tonight in real time. He'll show us how to select that area, how to browse some of the options in that area, how to cross-reference that with weather and avalanche hazard, and then use the map accordingly. So it's going to be really exciting to just see Mark on site this tonight. Uh, let's see. I'm going to check in on our poll here and give folks maybe just one more minute to vote in case you're just getting here.
Like we got some people cheering for certain areas in the chat. I love it.
Yeah, just while you're voting there in the poll, folks, the chat is turned on so that you can all use the chat to talk to each other. Any kind of comments you want to make to share with each other. But if you want to ask questions of Mark, Megan's going to be processing those for us, and that can be done best through the Q&A. And we may answer some questions immediately in the Q&A, but then some of the other ones will queue up for Mark either in the during the presentation or at the end. Folks are excited to be here. I'm gonna go ahead and end our poll and let that be our final vote.
You can't end it yet. It's a tie.
Oh, it's so close.
Oh, no, it's one.
I'll pop out of this share.
Oh, dang, this is exciting.
Cynthia asks in the chat, the audience is automatically muted. Yes, you can't speak, but you can use the chat. And if you want to speak during the Q&A, we'll see if we have time to turn folks' mics on and ask the questions directly. All right, shall we end it?
I think so. I think we got a fairly clear winner.
All right.
Pretty close though.
So folks can see the results, I hope. And there we go. Can you handle that, Mark?
Yeah, if I read that right, we're heading over to Rocky Mountain National Park.
Excellent. 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 And a close second was Mount Baker. Third was Convict Lake. Fourth was Cardiac Ridge, and at the back of the pack was Alaska.
Yeah, nobody wanted to go to Alaska. Interesting.
Yeah, we did get so in the chat there was somebody who said weird there's no East Coast options, and we did get a lot of suggestions for East Coast. But Mark will talk a little bit about why we didn't end up going with one of those. Even though there's fantastic skiing on the East Coast, it's more about what resources we can show you. So I personally am from the East Coast. Mark lives there. Um, so you could also say he's from there. So we have a lot of love for there.
Nice.
Well, in one case, I'll just explain it right now if that works. In one case, it's my home area. So I didn't think it was much of a roulette. It was my home area. Which is the White Mountains, Mount Washington, which has an avalanche forecast. The other one, which would have been very interesting, would have been the Adirondacks, um, which is kind of full throttle backcountry, a lot of stuff going on, but there's no avalanche forecast at all. So we didn't feel it was really appropriate right now for an area at this level, uh, because with working without an avalanche forecast is difficult. So that's kind of why we didn't go to the East Coast. I guess we could have gone for the chick chalks or something like that. But anyway, we picked those five, and we're heading to Rocky Mountain National Park. So I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm gonna make sure you should see my green browser with the CalTopo map. And although we're not doing any in the East Coast, I at least centered it on Mount Washington because I didn't know where we were going. And we'll get started. So the the goal tonight is to demonstrate a process of like where to go. Like it may be your home area, which is a little bit easier, or it may be a trip you're going on and you're trying to get some information. So just to give you an idea, I mean, I got this job after guiding for most of my career. So as you can probably imagine, I like geeking out on maps. I can spend hours on an area. So I'm going to try to abbreviate it a little bit so that you can just see what my process is. So usually the first thing I do is I go to the map and I just type in the area. So I'm going to just type in Rocky Mountain National Park. There we go. And it brings me sort of to the center of the park, more or less. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And so there's a few ways I like looking at just sort of the range and the area, just a big overview, sort of the way I have it here. I know this area a little bit from summertime. I've been here in the summertime a fair bit. Uh, so I know about certain trailheads, and I know the main town is Estes Park and things of that nature. So the next thing I do is I like to do some Google searching. And you'll see here, I sort of prepped just so you didn't have to watch all my Google search terms. And these two sort of stood out to me. I didn't, there was a time you could find lots of blogs, lots of GPX tracks, lots of stuff. Of late, I haven't been finding as much on the internet that way, at least not in early searches. Sometimes if you dig deep, you can find some old posts and things of that nature. But these two blogs, I guess you would call them, sort of, or articles, sort of gave me some ideas. Okay, so this one here was more specific to a tour. I believe this is all Dragon Tail. So I thought that was kind of cool. I know I'm reading this, it seems very popular, but as a visitor, probably something to try to get if it's all good. Um, big terrain. This one sort of gave you a better overview of the entire area. And, I'm starting to like see things like skiing Long's Peak, Flat Top, this Banana Bowl, Hidden Valley, and then, of course, Dragon Tail. So there were a lot more names, but there's no places here. And so I'm going to go back to my map and see if I can find some of that. Flat top I'm familiar with. It's right in this zone here. So that was pretty easy to find. I wasn't really sure about Hidden Valley and that area. So one thing I'll do pretty quickly is I'll head over to shared maps. This shared maps layer allows you to see everybody's map that's public. So they have to set it as public, and it'll give you either tracks, and I'm going to go with all data here, or all the lines and tracks. And it's it can be a little overwhelming, although in this area it works out really nice and clean. Um, and so I'll just start clicking around and looking at what things are. So if I start looking at this, early May turns, Hidden Valley skiing. Let's see what else. Ridgeline Traverse, Trail Ridge Road, skiing in the new year, Hidden Valley. So I'm starting to see some. I'm guessing this is Hidden Valley. I didn't really know that. Tombstone Ridge and a Mount Butler. People have interesting names. Sometimes I'll look at the parking. It'll, I don't know why the parking didn't come up. Unnamed. Okay. But it's from the Hidden Valley map. And I could even open this map and just get an idea of where this map I'm looking at. So it's opening up here, and sure enough, it's that whole area. It's actually got some runs in it, so that's an interesting map. There's also an interesting line here. I gravitate to the zigzag lines because they look like skin tracks. So looks like a Beaver Mountain North approach. Front Range ski tours. Let's see if this gives me a lot of data, it looks like, for the entire Front Range. I'm going to be a little bit north up in the park. So there's Estes Park. So I'm looking in this area. And this map is a little busy for me. I like my maps pretty clean. So I'm going to just uncheck all the default layers and overlays that we're on. And I usually go to this map builder topo, but there's other layers you can use. My primary one, and it's CalTopo's sort of proprietary like signature layer, is this map builder topo. And these are overlays that just put things on top of the map. And I unchecked all that. And I'll just zoom in, and I've got some pretty good, it gives me sort of the zone. So I'm kind of liking this. It's giving me this kind of bonus area, this Beaver Mountain. And over by Flat Top, it's starting to define things. And this Banana Bowl, if I remember right, Banana Bowl was on the list. Um, so this is looking to me like a good map to have. So I'm going to shut some tabs off here. And I'm at this map. Now, when you open somebody else's private map, you have no idea who they are. And you can't add or subtract or manipulate or edit this map in any way. You only can read it. So if you want to work with the map a little bit, you can actually export the entire map and export it into your account. I'm sorry. I'm going to redo that because I hit export too fast. I'm going to export and copy to a new map. And now I'll hit the export button. Got a little ahead of myself. And now it just transported all the data from that map. And I'm just going to call this the clinic map. And the map will save. And I'm going to uncheck the shared topo cal or the shared CalTopo map layer. And I'm going to start to focus in on this zone here. Now, as a general rule, you're going to be traveling with people. But given the way things are, they may not be local friends. People are kind of all over the map these days, and you want to be able to work on this map together. What I'm going to do for you all is I'm going to share the URL of my map. So this is the map that I just copied, and I'm going to share that in the chat. Oop, I guess I should have. There we go. And you can actually follow along with some of the things I'm doing if you'd like. So if you're watching me on a computer and you have your phone handy and you have the app, you can use that link. Megan, maybe we can try to I can get a QR code up here for read only. So you can get your phone out and zap the QR code. If you're using a computer, if you're using your phone to watch the clinic and looking at a map on the link will work for you. But regardless, you can actually watch what I'm doing. And if I were planning a trip with you all, you would probably get an update or a write permission URL. And the difference between write and update is with write, you can edit and erase anything on the map. With update, you can only add things to the map and edit the things you've added or delete the things you've added. So it just depends on your friend group and how that's all working. So right now, just so you all know, because I was going a little quick there. This is the toggle for the shared maps. So I'll be toggling this on and off occasionally because I want to buff this out a little bit. I'm going to want to see if I can find this dragon tail, which apparently is on flat top. And I'm going to want to see if I can find some other up tracks and things like that to add to this map. So my understanding of this area here, Hidden Valley, I did do a little pre-reading, right? So I did read a little bit about Hidden Valley. Sounds like it was an old ski area. It's right off the road. It's pretty straightforward. It appears like there's parking right here. When I turn on the shared maps, I see a lot of parking markers. So I'm not going to focus on that. This looks sort of easy to just go see, check out, and so on. What I'm going to be looking at is some of the bigger tours, maybe at Flat Top. Um, Having done a little bit of reading, it sounds like things start at this Bear Lake. And again, I'll toggle on that shared maps layer. Again, lots of parking. So this seems to be the main trailhead. The uh, the track that was on this map for this area, Flat Top, seems to start right from that same parking area. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And so now I'm going to start just looking around. And again, shared map layer, tracks only this time. So the tracks only layer are are lines that have timestamps. So they're actual tracks. So what's nice about that is you get to see how long people have taken and you get to see their actual route. And so as I look over here, I'll click on this one. This goes down what looks like that main couloir. And sure enough, that is the Dragon Tail couloir. And it looks like the up track is coming up that side of Flat Top and then descending into the couloir. This is for May and a 6 hour and 26 minute tour. So I'm going to just add that to the map. And what that does is when I toggle the shared maps layer off, I'll see that actual tour. And you can see, looks like they started at Bear Lake. Looks like they came up and went down Dragon Tail. But just to double check that, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to manipulate the line just to put arrows on it. And that is strange because it looks like they went up Dragon Tail and down, which seems very strange to me. So that may not be a very good track for what I want to do. So I'll just delete that. You don't win every time. Let's see if we can find a descent line on Dragon Tail. And this line does April 26th. That looks a little bit 6 hours. GPX looks whack. Let's see if I can see anything else. Dragon Tail, that's October. That feels like a strange time. May, let's go with this one. And I'm going to add that one to the map. And this looks like an up and down track. I'm going to edit it again. And I'm going to just do a quick little explanation of why this GPX track looks so whack. Because that's was one of the comments. If your GPS is taking track points like every 10 seconds and you're moving slowly, you'll get a lot of noise in the track. Now, if you're in a car, you may want it to take a track point every second, or like my son-in-law does data for race cars, and even once a second isn't enough. But if you're bushwhacking and you're taking a track point every 10 seconds, your track is going to look very squiggly because it's just going to be bouncing within that error and it's just going to create a squiggly line. So, in many ways, you're better off just reducing the number of track points that you're taking per minute So instead of 6 a minute, you might want to take half of that. And most GPSs and apps, our app does, you can adjust how much, how fine you want. And so whether it's high to low or it goes by seconds, um, when you're doing especially big uphills like this, really reduce the number of track points per minute and you'll have a cleaner track. But this is fine. It's going to give me a good timestamp. So this was 6 hours. So I have no idea. For all I know, this could be an FKT and I'll never like come close to this, or this could be an exceedingly long time because I have no idea. So I'm going to toggle on our travel time, and we have a standard munter rate that we do. And if many people learn about the munter rate, it's a time estimation system that we do. And for this track, it's saying 3.5 hours. So this is a little slow, but actually I'm not surprised. This gully is probably a little time consuming to boot up, and not to mention the stops and the transitions. So I'm going to say 6 hours is probably legit. Like that's what I would expect that I would have to do. Now, my guess is this 9.62 miles is really long relative to what it actually is. All these zigzags add mileage. So a track like this won't give you a good mileage estimate. All right, so that's a little bit about GPS and tracks. This is sort of starting to buff out my map a little bit. Now I'm going to want to look at a few things here. I want to get an idea of avalanche terrain. Now, we have this slope angle shading right here. And it's a fixed, you can have fixed or gradient, but it's a standard, and the key is down below. So, what color, what angle each color is. And this is a great quick tool to toggle on. But me personally, I have a hard time looking at all the colors. I just have a hard time like discerning what's going on with all the colors. So what I like to do is I will add a custom terrain shading layer. So to just see where avalanche terrain is, I'm going to go, this is a continental snowpack. So I'm going to go 30 degrees to 45 degrees for slope angle. 30 is getting pretty low angle, but it's Colorado. I'm going to add a rule, and I'm going to bring it up here from 46 to 90, and I'm just going to color that black because I want to know the avalanche terrain, and I want to know the terrain that's basically too steep to ski or too steep to like consistently ski, where the cliffs are. And I'm going to name this 30 to 45 red, 46 to 90 black. And I'm going to save that layer. And what this does for me is it gives me a better handle as to the steepness and the avalanche hazard. Now, obviously, Dragon Tail is in steep terrain. What I'm really curious about is this area of flat top and this banana bowl. So I'm going to start just toggling off some of my folders. And of course, this is the Bear Lake area. And what this is telling me is a couple of things. One, this actual trail makes for a good up track. Pretty low angle relative, slope. It's probably a reasonably good thing to ski in sort of midwinter conditions in the Rockies. Banana Bowl has a little bit more like terrain in it. There's a little pocket right here that definitely looks like it could catch somebody. When I read this, uh, this stood out to me. It's a step up in terms of avalanche exposure with above tree line skiing and exposure to the wind. But it's reasonable most days of the year. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm going to close that one. That's kind of what I'm seeing in this area. Now, the other area I'm interested in is like what's going on with Hidden Valley. And this little zone here, this looks really kind of cool. And nobody talked, it wasn't mentioned at all in the blogs. So I'm going to see if I can find Hidden Valley. I'm going to toggle that off. And again, this is looking fairly reasonable to do most days. There's some steep terrain here. This looks a little bit like I'd want to avoid it. A little bit of a gully here with steep sides. I'm not too happy about things like that because of terrain traps. So just to get a visual of the terrain traps, I'm going to toggle on 3D. Let's see what's going on here. Toggle it off. I'm going to just add, whoop, going too fast here. Add marker. I'm just going to put a marker like at the base of it so I can easily find it. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and I'm going to turn on 3D and come on. There we go. And now I just need to find that marker. And I'm just going to look at this terrain trap a little bit just to see what it kind of looks like. It's not quite as ugly as it looked in the 2D version, but it's not great. So I'm going to definitely, like, as I buff this map out, I may actually just kind of add a polygon. And I'm going to avoid, and I'm going to stick it into that Hidden Valley. I'm going to stick it into the Hidden Valley folder. And I'm just going to keep it like that. And I may just move this up to here and change the icon. Let's see, what could I do that makes it look, how about a skull and crossbone? And I'll make that black. And that will give me like a little bit of an area to avoid. I might do the same thing with this one. Not a big fan of these things. And this little thing is also something I'm not, like, I don't know this area. People who know this area might be going, it's nothing. And I might go up there and ground truth it and like switch it out from my map. Like, no, this isn't as bad as it looked. But I don't want to bumble in there. And now I'll do the same thing in this area. So I'm curious what folder this is in. This is in the lines and polygon folder. So I'm just gonna uncheck that. And this bowl also looks pretty good. Now, so far, I've only been looking at these areas from a point of view of avalanche hazard, but I kind of want to ski. So maybe I'll toggle this off. And this is where using the slope angle shading, where this yellow and orange sort of give me an idea of steepness. And yellow would be great. That's like just as steep as you want before avalanche terrain. And then it goes below 27, it won't show any color. So these bits of terrain are pretty low angle. This looks pretty fun here. Might do a little research into that at some point. And at any time I think, is there anything there? I'll just toggle that shared maps layer on and just see if there's anything. Beaver Mountain. So that looks like somebody's been doing something there. And this one we already know about. So there's nothing showing there. So I could go a lot deeper. I could keep finding more runs. There's an area that I've been to, Mount Epsilon, that I believe is right in here. And I've climbed this route in the summertime and we descended down here. And this looked like there was some good skiing. So I would definitely research this area here if I was going on a trip. But I would just go through the same process. I'd be toggling on the shared locations. I'd be searching the internet. I'd be looking at steepness and just keep buffing this map out. Maybe erase some things. I'm not a big fan of these polygons. I might change their opacity and just work on buffing out the whole map. At this point, when I read about Dragon Tail, well, let's let's start at the start. Sorry. So before I take off, like a couple of days, maybe 2 weeks, one of the things I'm going to look at is the avalanche hazard. Go figure, it's considerable. So with CalTopo, you can click on one of the overlays, the avalanche overlay. It'll zoom out so you get to see more of the area. So it's not too specific. And then I'll get the forecast. And I'll keep an eye on the forecast. So, wow, north side persistent slab. It's unusual. And an east side wind slab. And so I may come here 2, 3, 4 times a week, a month out. Just keep kind of a track of like how conditions are doing, that kind of thing. Another thing I'll look at, and this I kind of will look at this a few times just to kind of keep myself from being too like overly let's see. Got caught. Megan's probably laughing at me right now. Colorado doesn't do avalanche observations. In many areas, And I'll just go there real quick. If I click on Avi observations, oh, did I pick another area? Nice. All right. Utah either. Wow. Um, Sorry. This is what happens when, okay, there we go. I have my Avi observations checked, and what you'll get are these links to the avalanche observations at that for that area. So you can check out the historic avalanches. Colorado and Utah are not part of that system. So that I can't look at those in those areas. So anyway, I just went a long way away from Rocky Mountain, but I know all my objects here are in that zone. So if I click this icon, it'll bring me back and it will zoom to the extent of the icons that are displayed. So fortunately, I have this in there. And so I can't get Avi observations. I can get the avalanche forecast. Another thing I can do is get weather stations. And there's I'm sorry, I'm clicking weather. I clicked weather shading, weather stations. And I just see snowpack, and I can zoom out a little bit. I can see, not seeing any. Oh, there's one. It's a black dot right at Bear Lake. Isn't that nice? And I'm getting a snow depth of 16 inches. And this is the last observation. And I can click this chart and I can watch the snow depth over time. So this is since roughly the beginning of December. So we're looking at 4 inches, a little bit of snow, a couple inches at a time. And we're 18, 17. Looks like we're staying at the mid-teens for the entire time. So I like to kind of keep track of the weather stations. Now, wind slab was a issue. So one of the things I'll look at, wind is cranking. Windy in Rocky Mountain National Park. How unusual with considerable avalanche hazard. Sounds like a regular winter. Sorry. So here's the speeds. So we're looking at 40 to 50 mile per hour winds out of the west. So these, they look like comets. So it's like the direction of the comet. So the tail is pointing back. So the wind is going from left to right in this case. And this is the speed now, but I could also do the gusts, and the gusts are gusting 70 plus mile per hour. So I'll keep an eye on the wind plot. Just what I'm trying to do is just get a feel for the area. The less I know about it, the more I'm going to be reading weather data and that kind of stuff to just kind of familiarize myself with what's going on here. Another thing to look at, and I know I'm going through a lot of this stuff. It is recorded, so you're going to be able to review is this base layer here, the Sentinel Weekly. And it looks like it's cloudy. So let's go the 5th, the 3rd. Wow, is it? There we go. We're starting to see something. Let's see if the 1st was better. I want to go. Let's open this up and let's just there. So what I'm seeing here is satellite data. And the clearest day is the 29th. And this is the flat top area. It doesn't look like there's a lot of snow on the 29th, but we've been seeing snow on a regular basis from the plot. So we're getting a lot of cloud cover. So I'll keep an eye on this over the course of the time between, when I'm planning this and when I'm leaving, and I'll just see how the snow is filling in. This is a great tool for springtime as things start melting out and you get to see sort of the snow cover. Let's see. Those are the main tools that I'm going to be using. I probably should talk about starting to plan a little bit for like the in case, right? Like what happens if. So one thing I like to do is maybe toggle on the cell coverage layer. And I use Verizon, so it defaulted to Verizon. But if you're using T-Mobile or AT&T, it'll give you an idea of your chances of cell phone coverage. If it's really, really looking spotty, like I don't expect to get much right here, like in these little like single or double uh, pixel areas, you're probably not going to get much. But in this area, this is pretty well filled in. I suspect that there's going to be a lot of cell phone coverage in that area, which means to me that sort of leads me to some ideas of like how I can alert rescue if anything happens in my party or if anything happens around me. And it just gives me that kind of an idea. Now, all these things, routes, cell phone data, snow cover, the whole bit, the more you can either ground truth it or talk to people in the area, it gives a lot of this starts giving me the questions I want to ask. Like, hey, how is that flat top area? Is it good? Are there other areas like that? And those kind of things from friends, acquaintances, um, more Google searching, uh, and that type of thing to just keep getting information. For the most part, that's my process, sort of in a nutshell. And this map would get completely buffed out. Like I might even break out those other areas like that aren't in Rocky if I was focused in Rocky. And I would start separating the zones in Rocky and getting this really, really good. Now, this map was saved to my account. And I'll just show this really quickly. Um, it's going to be listed in my data here. So if I close this map, I can always reopen it from my data. But another thing I can do, one second here. Let's see if I can, I'm going to, sorry. What I want to do, I've got so many little, there we go. All right, let's see. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to share again. And I'm going to share this one. And you should be able to see my phone now. And I'm just scrolling in my phone. I'm going to tap the 3-bar menu, your data, clinic, and there's my map that I've been working on. It's already synced to my phone. And if any of you are following along, I've got shared maps toggled on. So I'm going to untoggle that because it could tell as soon as and I got that hidden valley and I've got all my objects here. So I can toggle them all off or on as I want. So let's see. I guess I was. So you should still be seeing my screen here. And I'm not exactly, there it goes. I'm ready to answer some questions. What do you think, Megan? Do you have anything to add? Did I miss anything in there?
Um, yeah, I think, the Mark covered a ton of tools here, and CalTopo is capable of so much. If you are new to it, I encourage you to kind of focus on those core features, like the discovery tools, the shared maps, the map layers, and just start there. There's a lot you can do, but don't get overwhelmed. And if you are experienced with this, hopefully you got some new tips and tricks. One thing I just want to clarify is with the AVI observations that Mark showed. Um, Currently, the CIC and the Utah Avalanche Center don't share their AVI observations with avalanche.org, which is where we pull that data from. It's an awesome resource that's available. Um, and so they still have avalanche observations, they just don't share those with the source that we pull them from. So if you do live in those areas, feel free to reach out to them and be like, hey, we'd love to see these, publicly available on avalanche.org. It just helps get that information more places. But they, of course, still have it on their website, so you can go directly there and find it. Mark, I do have a couple questions for you, and I think it'd be great if you kept the map up because I think a lot of these are great to be answered with the map and talking live about them. One question we got, it was just a request for you to go through one more time the how you made the custom map layer. And I have a bunch of questions for you, so that's where we'll start though. How
You
did you
mean the
create that
custom terrain?
custom? Yes, the custom terrain shading.
Okay. So for custom terrain shading, it's add terrain shading. And then you can toggle on any of these or all of them. So I was just toggling on slope angle, but you can also toggle the aspect. So you can create a slope shading layer that has the angle, the aspect, and the elevation and color it a certain way. If I'm really new to an area and I'm a little confused, sometimes it's like wind slabs on northeast faces, and I'll build this out just so I can quickly visualize like where are these northeast faces. I'm pretty good at looking at a map, but you start using like 3D and things like that, and you start spinning the map around, and you're like, which way is northeast? So, um, interesting. I think I created a shade. Um, so like I'll do things of that nature, but it's add terrain shading and then just start playing. One of the things I did when I first started using CalTopo is I didn't really route plan, or I didn't route plan routes that I really, really needed. I I route planned imaginary trips that I was going to do and started using all the tools. So that way, if I screwed something up, I wasn't like, oh, I screwed something up and you know, like I'm going on this trip and I just learned how to use the program. So it's definitely worth doing some practice trips. Any, is that, does that answer that question, Megan?
Yeah, that was great. And again, we are recording this and the recording will be available so you can always re-watch it. I will drop in the Q&A, I'll add to that question under the answered tab, just the link to the user guide that walks you through it as well. Another question for you, Mark. This one is, I'd love to get some pointers on using maps to assess tree density, skiability, and snow coverage through satellite imagery.
Yeah. Like there are times when you can look at satellite imagery and get some information that way. Um, Canopy is a pretty good, and it's interesting because we just did this, but if you notice in that terrain shading, there is canopy cover. And so canopy cover, you can, it doesn't, it's canopy. So it doesn't directly relate to tree cover. Like you can get a lot of brush underneath or things of that nature, but it gives you some idea of the vegetation in that area. Um, Everybody would love to find the secret glades. There's only so much you can get out of a map, and there's only canopy data and vegetation data is probably some of the weakest data sets uh, that I can think of that we typically use in mapping. Um, you can just tell by this green shading that we only know so much, right? Like you might be able to get some specific data from like some scientist who's been studying something or in an area, but you have to dig pretty hard. I would look at everything.
Well,
Your
can I
best bet is
actually
local
share?
resources.
Could I share a tip?
Sure.
So I
Yes,
actually got
absolutely.
this. Yeah, so I used to do customer support for CalTopo and help write the user guide. And when you do customer support, you get a lot of use cases that are outside of how you would normally use it, but then it gives you ideas for how you could use it. And so this little trick, which I like, comes from a botanist, and it's actually the infrared, um, using
Ah,
that filter on the NAIP. So the NAIP is under aerial imagery. So you have to go up there. This is only available in the continental US, but we have false color IR for this layer. And what that does is it makes the vegetation show up bright red. So it really highlights, it's the same exact satellite imagery, but it's highlighting the vegetation. And so it can be really helpful in an area to get a better idea because it just makes that vegetation. It makes it pop. Like it can help you see like corridors, hallways, whatever you like to call those little tree alleys that are so fun to ski, chutes. It can be really helpful for that. Now, it's only available in the United States because the NAIP, like that program only did mapping in the continental US. So if you are located in Colorado or anywhere else like that, it's a nice little trick for finding tree skiing.
nice. I forgot about false IR.
Yeah, I kind of have an obsession with like tr like the perfect tree hallway.
Nice.
I got another question for you. So earlier you were looking at the shared maps, and you were looking at the tracks only specifically, and you
Yes.
did kind of zone in on a track for that. And how did you know that was a ski track and not someone hiking in the summer? Like, what did you look for that would let you know, oh, this is probably a ski track and not just a hiking track or some other type of activity?
So with tracks, my main go-to is the date. So as soon as if I toggle on tracks only, I can click something and I'm getting dates because they're all time stamped. I'm gonna unclick Bear Lake so I don't. So all these are basically ski tracks, January, March. I guess they could be snowshoers, but for the most part, it's going to be skiers. Once I start getting on the trail itself, I may start seeing dates that are not winter dates. Although, oh, there's a May, June, June 23rd, July. So those are likely not ski. What I got faked out by on this one, which kind of still is it's a May, so May 2022. It's a good question whether or not May 2022 had snow. One of the nice things to do with that is you can go to Sentinel and you can go to May 2022. Let's go to May 19th. Let's see if it was a clear day. And there was some snow there on May 2022. So that May track could have been a climber, but they were going in the wrong direction. A skier would have been going down that. But I like the Weekly because you can go back in time so you can look at tracks that are sort of on those shoulder seasons and see if there was snow there.
Awesome. Thanks for those tips. The next question is about travel time. So if you could talk a little bit more, under travel time, you see like different modes, like ski time listed. So is this a modified version of the Munter calculation or something else? Could you talk a little bit more about like what that data is and how it's calculated?
Yeah, it's a little modified. So um one of the features we have that I didn't show was this travel plan feature. And I'm going to toggle that because what it'll do is it'll show you what the munter rates are for each type of travel. So for hiking, for up, it's 4, for flat, it's 6, for down, it's 6. And then for ski, it's a 4, a 6, and a 10 for a down. And these are pretty standard munter rates. Um, why I say it's modified is typically when you do a tour plan, you do the sections that are up and you set up a munter rate for each section. Because if it's thick vegetation or you're bushwhacking, you might have it low. So you actually adjust the munter rate for each leg. On this, especially on the big estimation, where I just click on this and get travel time 3.5 hours, it's for the whole thing. And so I like using it just to get an idea of what the track time is telling me. Like honestly, the last thing I want to do is plan a tour based on a time plan from a track that was an FKT, right? Like I just don't want to like do that. So I like to just kind of calibrate the track with this. If I were actually doing this tour, I'd probably draw it all out. I would likely climb up that flat top trail and descend into it. Um, if at all feasible, if I felt comfortable with that. Um, and then I would time plan it out using our travel time, our travel plan feature. Um, the it, when you're dealing with time plans, it becomes pretty personal. Like, okay, I'm traveling, like I typically travel at this rate and blah, blah, blah. I'm from sea level. So if I were coming here and it was like the first couple of days, I'd have to like toggle down like what I typically do, like here in the Northeast, and adjust my rate based on that. Um, One of the things, especially for Dragon Tail, and I guess I should mention this, is in April. So this is Eastern time. So if it's if it's light, if the sun is hitting this in April at 7:30 Eastern time, that's like, and I'm on Eastern time. I did play with this. So at 7 a.m. it's in the Eastern time, it's in the shade. So at 9:30, this is getting in the sun. Is that right? No. 7:30. Oh, I'm sorry, my brain is hurting. Um, yeah, if it's 7:30 here, it's 5:30 Mountain Time. So this is my browser time. So it's 9 o'clock here in the Northeast. So I know it's 7 o'clock Mountain Time. I'm sorry. Yeah. 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Megan, you got to help me out here. My brain is mush from staring at the map. I can't do simple math.
Well, yeah, so the sun exposure layer reflects your browser time. So it's tricky. It's most useful when you are looking at an area that is in the same time zone as your browser. So it's not as like transferable necessarily for like trip planning. It can be tricky to use in that way. So it's a great layer, but it's definitely like much more useful if you're in the same time zone as the area you're viewing on the map.
Yeah, so it's 7 o'clock Mountain right now. So at 7:30 a.m. in April, Eastern time is 5:30 in the morning Mountain, and this thing is starting to get into the sun already. Um, One little trick that I do when I'm tour planning is I actually change my computer time to the time where I'm trip planning. And that way all my sun exposure and that kind of thing is um, properly set. So you can change your computer time um, to the area you're working at. So there's that sun exposure, and then there's this um, point info, which will give you, so I can go to April and I can get like a pretty good, like it's getting direct sun at 7:30 in the morning for that point. So we have ways, especially for spring tours, to get sun exposure. Sorry, that was a little disjointed. My brain was cramping there for a minute.
No, it was great, Mark. You really just cleared out questions. You have no idea how many Megan cleared out this whole time. It's just been so informative. Thank you both. As we, can you pop out of your share, Mark? I'm gonna
Oh,
share these
yes,
final two slides.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think while you set that up, if people do have questions, feel free to shoot us an email at help@caltopo.com. We're always happy to help. And our user guide is at training.caltopo.com. We are working on a lot more resources to help people get the most out of CalTopo for whatever you're planning, whether it's a ski tour or summer endeavors or what have you. So help@caltopo.com for any questions, as well as training.caltopo.com for the user guide.
sweet. Everyone, we mentioned this in the chat throughout the webinar, but here's that coupon code generously offered by CalTopo. It's as soon as you turn it on, it lasts 60 days, but you've only got until January 31st to turn it on and enjoy some of those features that Mark demoed for us. So grab that QR code. I'll leave it up for another few seconds here and enjoy that free trial with all those features that Mark showed us. Uh, Coming up for the rest of our webinar series, our public webinars, we've got more dates throughout the winter. A lot of our partner brands are taking us through a lot of skills and features and information about all the different products and techniques that we use in the winter backcountry. Here's our schedule. Yeah, so some good stuff coming up for this winter. And finally, we are here at the end of the year and in our fundraising campaign towards the year-end close. And if you'd like to donate to AIARE, we'd love your support. It's like we keep making this information available through the generous support of our partners, and your support would really help us continue to serve our mission. I'm going to pop out of my share and just say thank you both again. It was such a pleasure. It was so fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah,
You're
Mark
welcome.
did all the heavy lifting, but thank you for having us. It was awesome, and I hope everybody found something that they can use on their next ski tour. Now
Oh,
let's all do our snow dance.
I think they would have to have not been paying attention to not get something useful from all of that. So thank you very much. All right, we'll call it there and sign off. Good night, all.
Bye, everybody.